This video needs to be on the internet. The Insomniac Spider-Man Iceberg. So many pieces of trivia throughout these games that needs to be organized and put onto a video. Icebergs mean more than you expect. They aren't just big chunks of ice, but rather perfect foundations to build lore, theories, conspiracies, and just about anything you can think of in a franchise to be put inside of it. Insomniac Spider-Man is no different, with multiple levels from the top of the iceberg being the most simple, with it progressively getting more and more nuanced as we go lower into the iceberg. This iceberg was not made by me, it was created by Reddit user MaddDog12345667, so huge thanks to them. Their link will be in the description, but let's go ahead and break down the Insomniac Spider-Man Iceberg. Tier 1, the sky. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man is the title of the first game of the series, created by Insomniac in 2018 and published by Sony. It featured a new Spider-Man universe created with its own lore. You primarily play as Spider-Man, but the game features other playable characters at certain sections in the story. There's way more to this game, but you know what this game is if you clicked on this video. The City That Never Sleeps. The City That Never Sleeps is the DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man. The DLC was a long-running story across multiple stories in the DLC that included Hammerhead, Black Cat, and Yuri going into the path of becoming the vigilante Wraith. The DLCs were all connecting as he went through stories with Black Cat and her quote-unquote child, the Magia gang and Hammerhead, as well as Silver Sable and her story being wrapped up in the DLC as well. Overall, great interconnecting DLCs. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man Miles Morales is the next game in this universe that was about Miles, obviously, as he starts his journey into becoming Spider-Man. This takes place right after Marvel's Spider-Man PS4. That game showed the origin of Miles and how he got bit by the spider and learning how to use his powers. This game focuses on his journey into becoming the next Spider-Man. The game was really good, all things considered, and really helped to take the weight off of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 in the future. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The next official sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, which allowed you to play as Peter and Miles, and the story revolved around Kraven the Hunter and the symbiote with Venom. This game featured new gameplay elements, from being able to play as two Spider-Man to enhance visuals, performance, gameplay, everything you can pretty much think of. Published in 2023, fantastic game. Yuri Lowenthal. Yuri Lowenthal is the voice actor for Spider-Man. He voices him in all the games, and he's just a really popular voice actor overall across a bunch of different media. He even voiced Spider-Man in Marvel Rivals. Peter Parker's face. So originally in Marvel's Spider-Man, Peter's face looked like this. However, when the PS5 remaster dropped, the face was changed. The original model was modeled after John Bubniak, however, the face was changed to resemble the voice actor Yuri Lowenthal in his motion capture performance. This sparked a lot of controversy, to say the least. Some people hated it, some people were indifferent about it, people made mods for the original face on PC. It became a big thing, but ultimately, the latter face was used in all future Spider-Man games in the universe going forward. Puddlegate. So before the game came out, promotion and gameplay footage from the game showed puddles with really good water effects on them. However, when the game came out, these puddles were removed, and the graphics in general were looking a tad more dull, according to the community, which led to people saying that the devs were making the game look better than it actually would be. There was a ton of articles and stuff about it. I mean, the final product still looks really good to me, but in a nutshell, it's pretty funny how people were really just complaining about puddles being removed from the game. Spider-Cop. Spider-Cop is a running joke in Marvel Spider-Man. When Peter would talk with Yuri, he would joke around calling himself Spider-Cop, which would annoy Yuri, but she would accept it later on in the game. Funny enough, in the comics, when Insomniac Spider-Man sees different versions of Spider-Man, he actually sees a real Spider-Cop, which dumbfounds him, to say the least. Spider-Man Remastered. This is the remastered version of Spider-Man PS4. Here's a PS4 and remaster comparison. It was released in 2022, and it dropped for the PC, which is really nice. The remaster included an unlocked frame rate as well as PC optimized graphics. It's just really nice to have this on PC, where this game was originally a PlayStation exclusive. Spider-Man PC. Spider-Man PS4 actually stopped being exclusive to PlayStation on August 12th of 2022, so we got a port for more people to play with all the aforementioned remaster things. Suit/suit powers. So in Spider-Man PS4, there are multiple suits you can wear, but they also have suit powers. For example, the punk rock Spider-Man has a specific punk rock ability that helps him out in combat, but you can use these suit powers for any suits once you unlock them. It's pretty cool, and they do nothing but enhance the gameplay. One of the most powerful ones was Web Blossom. Low-key, it's like Spider-Man's ult from Marvel Rivals, where he just twirls around shooting webs and it kind of takes out everyone in the vicinity. Really cool feature they added in Marvel Spider-Man. Avengers Tower. You can go to Avengers Tower in this game. It's just there in New York and you can swing around it. Funny enough, in the original game, Peter says this when you take a picture of the tower.
Avengers Tower is so cool, but they're never around to use it. I think they're probably somewhere on the West Coast right now. Probably surfing or something.
However, he doesn't say this line in the remaster, which I'm not sure why. Maybe to make it less connected with Marvel's Avengers would be my guess. Who knows, but yes, Avengers Tower is present in the game, and it helps to flesh out the universe. E3 2016. E3 was a big gaming event that was used to showcase a lot of new games. This was a reveal trailer of Marvel's Spider-Man in 2016 for E3. It was really cool to see back then because a new AAA Spider-Man game was coming out, something that was kind of new at the time. Funny enough, in the trailer, there was a sequence here where Peter kind of ran through the shop and through the glass, which was in the final game. It looked cool, I wanted it to be there. Who knows what that sequence was for? Venom. The symbiote was teased in the post-credit scene of Marvel's Spider-Man, with it being used to keep Harry alive. Spider-Man Miles Morales also had a post-credit scene with Norman getting Harry out of the pod. And in Marvel Spider-Man 2, a big chunk of the story revolved around Harry and the symbiote and him ultimately turning into Venom, one of Spider-Man's biggest foes. Venom's version here had mixed reception among fans. Some reasons being that he wasn't really obsessed with Peter, it wasn't Eddie Brock, which is usually the host of Venom, and Venom's plot here felt more like a standard alien invasion rather than a personal story with Peter, but all in all, I think he was fine, and his design was really good. He was also voiced by Tony Todd, rest in peace to a legend, amazing voice actor. Aunt May's death. Aunt May dies in Marvel's Spider-Man. It was a really well done scene that was one of my favorites from any superhero thing ever. She died due to the Devil's Breath incident in the game. I think Brian Indahar, one of the leads at Insomniac, said that they were nervous about this. They wanted something big to happen at the end of the story to make it memorable, and I think they asked Marvel about this and they said it was okay if they wanted to kill off Aunt May. Nonetheless, this risk paid off, as the game ended up being extremely more memorable due to it, and it was done excellently. Just the Facts. Just the Facts is a radio show in the games that features J. Jonah Jameson doing what he does best, which is talk crap about Spider-Man. For a video game, this was a really great idea to have, because something to listen to while free roaming and to incorporate JJ. It was a creative idea that honestly brightens up and keeps his universe alive while you're just swinging around. I liked it a lot, and it had some really funny conversations. Exaggerated swagger. Exaggerated swagger. This was the meme where GameSpot reviewed Spider-Man Miles Morales, and they said this.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It gives me goosebumps every time he does it, especially as the music begins to swell.
This lives on to this day. People make jokes about it, and people wonder what even prompted this reviewer to say this. It's kind of a wild statement, but yes, that is where this comes from, and I'm sure you've heard about it somewhere. I want to say that the person that made this video wanted to say it in a positive way, but come on, man, you gotta know what you're getting yourself into when you say stuff like that on the internet. Insomniac leaks. This is referring to the leaks for Marvel Spider-Man 2. There was supposed to be a DLC for the game. Here's a timeline of it. We were supposed to get DLCs for the Beetle, Carnage, and a whole Spider-Verse thing. However, it was all cancelled. A likely reason of this is that Insomniac suffered a data breach recently, which they obviously had to prioritize. That's what I think caused the DLCs to be cancelled, but maybe there were other reasons behind the scenes for it. But yes, those were leaks, which sucks because I would have loved to see these DLCs. The Danicast. There's a character named Danica Hart that, similar to JJ, hosts a talk show that discusses recent New York events. She's in Miles Morales and kind of acts as the JJ of that game. And she's also in Marvel Spider-Man 2 alongside JJ. We can listen to her podcast while you're free roaming around. I'd say she's a cool character. Not as cool as JJ though. Not as funny either. Nelson and Murdock. In Marvel Spider-Man PS4, you can visit Nelson and Murdock's firm in the game, Matthew Murdock being the superhero Daredevil, and Foggy Nelson being his best friend. In that game, in one of the collectibles, Peter has a business card from Nelson and Murdock.
Oh yeah, that blind guy gave me his card in case Spider-Man ever needs a lawyer. Wait, hold on. If he's blind, how did he know I was Spider-Man?
Funny enough, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, their shop was evicted, so that got people wondering what that was all about. Daredevil would be really cool to see in the games, considering that Spider-Man and Daredevil in the comics have a rich history. Brian Indahar actually kind of teased him in an interview before here.
Nelson and Murdoch's sign is gone. Is that intentional, or is that just, oops?
Are they okay?
That's a good question. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's probably nothing at the moment considering the game has no DLC. Spider-Man also mentions in Marvel Spider-Man 2 that he has some lawyer friends that can help Sandman. Maybe it's Matthew Murdock, We'll see. Najee Jeter. Najee Jeter is the voice actor for Miles Morales. He does an amazing job. Great guy from what I've seen. And there you go. I'm also really sorry if I butchered the name. Earth 1048. The Insomniac Spider-Man games take place in Earth 1048. It was revealed in the comics. Insomniac Spider-Man is also part of the Spider-Verse. And there you go. If you were wondering, it takes place on Earth 1048. Across the Spider-Verse cameo. In the Across the Spider-Verse movie, there's a bunch of cameos featuring spider characters all across media, one of which is Insomniac Spider-Man, also confirming the Earth the games take place in. I remember hearing that people said this wasn't Insomniac Spider-Man due to some inconsistencies with the suit or whatever, but it's definitely him. Part 2, Feast. Boat people. So in Marvel Spider-Man, there are people on the boats in the waters out in the distance. However, if you were to go over there, they look like this. They look kind of terrifying, like N64 figures. And the reason they look like this is that they're supposed to look like the character models from the Spider-Man 2 movie game back in the day. It's a really cool reference, and to me, it's more hilarious than scary. Game of the Year Edition. Marvel Spider-Man had a Game of the Year Edition that came out in 2019, which includes all the DLC and the full game. That's it. Go nuts. Go get the game. Makes you feel like Spider-Man. This is a meme for the series, most notably used by IGN, I'd say. There's reviews that say the game makes you really feel like Spider-Man, and it got dunked on by a lot of other creators due to how generic that line is. There's a lot of reviewers out there that, like, every time they describe a game, they usually say that. It makes you really feel like Spider-Man. It's often to the point that people just make fun of it. Similar to like the Batman games where they say it makes you really feel like Batman, these games make you really feel like Spider-Man. Howard's Pigeons. There's a character named Howard in the games, a guy a bit down on his luck, but he has pigeons that he takes care of. Peter helps him find his pigeons in the first game, and in the second game, Howard has Spider-Man take his pigeons somewhere to find a new home for them, since Howard ended up being sick, and he passed away at the end of that mission. It was a really great character that showcased why the community loves Spider-Man, and it was a sad but memorable side mission in the second game to conclude his story. Evan Filarka. Evan Filarka is a YouTuber who covers primarily Insomniac Spider-Man content as well as other Insomniac games. I've never talked to him personally, but based on what I've heard and seen, he's an amazing guy that really loves the Insomniac games, and as of now, his career with Disney seems to be popping off at the time of this video, so make sure to check him out, and I wish this guy the best. Spidey Squad. Spidey Squad refers to a group of creators and fans who gained recognition for their love and dedication to the character of Spider-Man, particularly during the first game's development, Marvel's Spider-Man PS4. They even got a collectible in the first game. Spidey Squad was also founded by Evan Filarka too, which is awesome. I would have said that on his point, but I wanted to keep it here. Game Informer. Game Informer covered Marvel's Spider-Man through some magazines they made that had some really cool art for the games. Not a lot of people know about this, I think, but it was a pretty unique way of covering the games. GDC videos. There's a YouTube channel called GDC that made extensive videos about Spider-Man discussing things like the development, programming, AI. One video they made, for example, discussed the issues with the game's artificial intelligence and its development. They're very meticulous and more detailed videos, so I'd recommend checking them out if you're interested in that kind of thing. Wraith. Wraith is the alter ego of Yuri. Yuri was a cop at first in New York in Marvel's Spider-Man PS4, but in the City That Never Sleeps DLC, Yuri gets pushed to the limit as Hammerhead shows her the cruel injustices and how the law isn't enough for her. She becomes Wraith as we see in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 as a response, which is a badass vigilante straying away from the law that in that game wants to kill Cletus Cassidy, but Spider-Man doesn't let her, which forces a conflict among them. Even though her and Spider-Man don't see eye to eye, they both try to do the right thing in their own ways. Miles' new suit. Miles' new suit refers to the new dogshit suit that came out of nowhere in Marvel Spider-Man 2 during the alien invasion section of that game. The suit looks like this. It really sucked. A lot of people didn't like it and they made fun of it. The suit also was used to promote Adidas, which we'll get into later in the video, so that did not sit right with people. Story-wise, it also just makes no sense that Miles went out of his way to make a new suit with the invasion happening in New York, so that was all just kind of crazy. In-game social media. In Marvel Spider-Man, there's in-game social media. You can see people talk about the events of the game with comments on it that are really funny, and it adds world building to the game. It's really cool. There's even Easter eggs and references in it. There's a ton here that I'm sure a lot of people miss when playing these games. Some are Easter eggs like JJ's son gets some social media stuff in there as well, and he was an astronaut. MJ stealth missions. In these games, you can play as Mary Jane, and you do primarily stealth missions, getting around guards and taking them out. It's part of the story. They're pretty fun to me. Not as fun as Spider-Man though. However, a lot of the community didn't like these missions as they seemed to be kind of boring and pointless. I know people were telling Insomniac to drop these, but I think Insomniac stated that they won't, which to me is respectable. They don't ruin the gameplay experience to me, though like I said, I would rather play as Spider-Man. A lot of the MJ missions just has you sneaking around trying to get past guards while you try to get to your objective, with also a little bit of puzzle solving. It's a nice way to create variety in the gameplay, but it can get repetitive at times. Marvel's Spider-Man prequel comics. The Insomniac Spider-Man games have prequel comics. The comics cover a bunch of different storylines like MJ and Symkaria or Peter and Miles fighting a villain called the Hood to other things. They're pretty cool, it adds more depth to the universe. I'll put a link of the comics in the description as well as a link to recaps of what happens in the comics as well if you're interested. So there's a lot of issues, go nuts. Cindy Moon. In the Marvel Spider-Man 2 post-credit scene, you see this girl here, who's Cindy Moon. In the comics, Cindy Moon is a character that becomes a superhero named Silk, which is another spider person. Perhaps in the third game, we play as 3 different spider people. Cindy Moon as Silk, Miles as Spider-Man, and Peter as Spider-Man. Who knows? She's a pretty cool superhero. Younger here though, like Miles' age. She's usually Peter's age, so I think that's a difference here, but we'll see what they do with her character in Marvel Spider-Man 3. Screwball challenges. Screwball is this annoying character in Insomniac Spider-Man, a social media insane character that threatens the city for likes for Instagram basically. She made you do a bunch of different challenges in the first game that was for her streams. She was like a streaming online villain character basically. A lot of people found her annoying, but that was the point of the character, so I think all things considered they did a good job. And the challenges were sometimes fun to me, I guess. The challenges consisted of things like going here before something blows up, or set up a photo shoot, or do certain challenges while fighting thugs for points, that kind of thing. She was the Riddler of this game, if that makes sense. Secret photo ops. In the first game, you take pictures of landmarks in New York that appear on the map. However, there are secret photo ops that don't appear on your HUD or inventory or anything. There's a lot of them too, like the Statue of Liberty or the Lockjaw statue. It's really cool, and you can only find these photo ops using a level 50 suit mod, and they'll only show up on your minimap when you're close. Just a little extra something for you to do in the game. Mick's Diner. Mick's Diner is the diner that Peter and MJ kept going to in the first game primarily. According to them, they have the best fries in New York. There's a cool Stan Lee cameo here as well. And yeah, this is Mick's Diner. I wonder if it's real. 19 inches of Venom. Really funny, so during the promotion of Marvel Spider-Man 2, PlayStation UK on Twitter made a tweet promoting statues of Venom. And this was a tweet. Needless to say, it became a huge meme. There's people that aren't even fans of the game that just know this. It was really hilarious, and realistically, it got people talking about the promotion, so I'd say it was actually successful, and it worked. Still though, insane wording, but I respect it nonetheless. To this day, I think it may be one of the biggest memes in the community. 19 inches of Venom. Part 3. Into the Raft. Chrysler Building. So, in New York City, in real life, there is the famous Chrysler Building. This is a building you can actually visit in Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales. However, this building was removed in Marvel Spider-Man 2. And why, you may ask? Well, it's because Insomniac couldn't reach a copyright deal with the new building owners. So because of that, the building was removed. Dumb choice in my opinion, since it's just kind of like free advertisement, especially in a Spider-Man game, but to each their own. Raimi suit controversy. This refers to how the Spider-Man fandom treated Insomniac games on when they were adding the Raimi suit for Spider-Man PS4. Fans of the suit prior to the game releasing the costume were harassing the game's development team online to add the suit in the game. And when the game's third DLC pack did not add the suit in it, the fandom was upset to say the least. With people on Twitter attacking Insomniac and insulting them, it was just a lot of online harassment to the point where it became a huge thing. And it put a blemish on the fandom of the game, I would say. Eventually they did add the suit into the game, but if I were Insomniac, I probably would have just not done it, just to piss people off. Miles Morales glitches. This refers to the really funny glitches that happens in Spider-Man Miles Morales. Here's a video about it. Show some of the glitches the game provides. Some of them are funny, like I said. Here's a few of them in the video though. Spider-Man PC mods. When Spider-Man PS4 dropped for PC, the modding community wasted no time adding things to enhance the game. Most of it being awesome costumes, and I'm just scratching the surface when I say there's a ton of awesome modded costumes. One of my favorites being the Ultimate Spider-Man costume, but there are a ton. Not just costumes though, modders added gameplay enhancements too, like infinite gadgets. Games on PC tend to have mods, so this game was no different. It's really cool. R Spider-Man PS4. This is the Reddit for Insomniac Spider-Man. Currently, as of now, the Reddit is about what you expect, discussing the game and things about them. It's not anything toxic or crazy like the Arkham subreddit, for example. Adidas product placement. In the Spider-Man games here, there's quite a bit of Adidas product placement throughout said games. There's Adidas stores in the games, shoes, backpacks, but I would say the most out-of-place one of them all is the new Miles Morales suit in Spider-Man 2, where it impacts the story because he wears Adidas merch in the new suit. This suit is also universally acclaimed to be dog shit, so it does not help on that front. I think outside of the suit though, the product placement is done well and it really doesn't affect the game in any way. Spooderman. Spooderman, for those that don't know, is a meme version of Spider-Man that looks like this, a goofy version of Spider-Man. As far as I know, there isn't any official Spooderman thing in these games, but there are glitches or mods that people have made with it, which is pretty hilarious. Uncle Aaron's trash-ass beat. Uncle Aaron is Miles' uncle, the Prowler, who makes a beat in Marvel Spider-Man 2 that sounds like this.
Sounds.
Anyway, this is made fun of because how people find it terrible, which is pretty funny to me. There's jokes thrown around in the community about how his beat is so bad, it does this or that, etc. It's really funny, and in my opinion, it does kind of suck. Guaranteed to kill spiders. In Spider-Man PS4, the enemies sometimes carry rocket launchers that they will shoot at you. If you actually zoom in on the text of the rockets, you'll find that there's text on them that says, you guessed it, guaranteed to kill spiders. A neat little detail on Insomniac's part to incorporate this on the rockets. Spider-Man PS4 Blender. Blender is a 3D modeling program that's used to, well, animate. There's a model for Insomniac Spider-Man on Blender that's there for you to do whatever you need with. It's really cool, and it's nice to have for people that like to animate, having a set preface, so go nuts with it. Secret rideable bicycle in Astoria. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, in Astoria, at this location here by this fence, there is a bike you can actually interact with and ride. You can go around anywhere with it, and there's no particular reason other than it being cool. You can hop off and on it whenever, and yeah man, go nuts with that. Character bios. In Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, there are character bios for the characters in the game. However, there are no bios whatsoever in Marvel Spider-Man 2. These bios talk about the character's origins, abilities, stories, etc., which was really cool. However, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there are no bios whatsoever, which sucks because the bios give that much more lore and depth to the universe and its characters. It just seems like an odd feature to be missing from the game, considering it's something I feel superhero games should have at all times, but yes, there aren't any for this game, which I find strange. It is Spid. Spid is a Spider-Man YouTuber who makes a bunch of content about the Insomniac Spider-Man games, ranging from recreations to gameplay showcases to updates on when the games were coming out. He's a really great Insomniac Spider-Man YouTuber, does a lot of good content, and I think he's most known for his concepts and recreations, which he uses the skills to imagine them in the games, but he does a bunch of good content overall for the series. Webbed suit inaccuracies. So the Web suit, or the Raimi suit, when released, had some quote-unquote inaccuracies to the actual suit from the movie. There's a lot of details, but like the eye mesh is gone, the fabric doesn't really react to lightning, the webs look supposedly worse, people just don't like the color, webbing, logo, texture, it all feels kind of off apparently. It can be chalked up to nitpicking, but yes, I suppose it's not completely accurate to the movie suit, but all in all, I think it's a good recreation, but feel free to form your own opinion. Spider Cube. Spider Cube refers to a glitch in Marvel Spider-Man 2 where sometimes the character models for Peter and Miles, they can just turn into a cube. It looks like this, and it's really funny. You can just play as a cube that's supposed to be Spider-Man, hence Spider Cube. You can swing around and do whatever you want as if you were Spider-Man. At this point, it's patched, but on release, it was pretty funny. I mean, look at this, it's pretty entertaining. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, Marvel superhero, exists in this universe. His Sanctum Sanctorum is a place you can visit in the games, and it's a setting for a mission in Marvel Spider-Man 2. On top of that, at the end of that mission, you get a note from Wong, which references Doctor Strange. It's really cool and it helps expand this universe outside of Spider-Man, and I like it a lot. Maybe one day we'll see Doctor Strange in these games. Part 4, Vulture's Nest. Eddie Brock. So usually, Eddie Brock is the host of Venom in the general symbiote mythos. As we all know though, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, Harry was Venom. However, Eddie Brock does exist in his universe. In Spider-Man PS4, one of the collectibles is a goodbye card from the Bugle to Peter when he left, and as you can see, Eddie Brock wishes him goodbye, confirming his existence. It does not seem like there's bad blood between them based on this one little thing, but still, it's cool to know he does exist, and who knows, maybe he'll be Venom later on in the universe. Big Wheel. Big Wheel is a villain in the Spider-Man mythos that's kind of goofy, just a lunatic in a big Ferris wheel rolling around calling himself the Big Wheel. While Big Wheel isn't featured in the games, there are references to him. Coney Island in Marvel Spider-Man 2 has a Ferris wheel called the Big Wheel, and there's a collectible in the Spider-Man Miles Morales game that references it as well. I actually do want to see this villain, so maybe the next game can do that. BLM mural controversy. So in Spider-Man Miles Morales, there's a side mission that you can do, and at the end of the side mission, there's a BLM mural that appears on the wall here. So this mission sparked some controversy. People are saying that the games are getting too political now, or that this doesn't belong in the game. As you can probably tell, when things like this are added in a video game, it's going to spark controversy. Insomniac as a company is very supportive and inclusive in general, which is why they include these things in their games. And personally, I didn't find any issues with it, but you guys know how the internet can be. Mary Jane's original design. So in Marvel Spider-Man 1, this is what Mary Jane looked like. This was her original character model. However, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, the face model was changed to match the voice actress more. People obviously had their opinions on the new model, seemingly most of which being negative. So much that the actress actually announced her retirement from voice acting due to the negative backlash, which is terrible. It's a terrible thing and she doesn't deserve this, but people can be toxic and it sucks, but that is the story behind the face designs. LeBron James plays Spider-Man. This is referencing a social media story where LeBron James shows him and his boys playing Spider-Man PS4. Brian Indahar, one of the leads at Insomniac, tweeted about it. It's really cool, and I don't know why it makes me laugh when LeBron does simple things like this, but it does. It's cool regardless. Hamilton reference. Alexander Hamilton and his wife Eliza's graves can be found in the game. Alexander Hamilton being one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. You can find his grave at the Trinity Church. It's pretty interesting how much real-life lore is injected in these games, this being no different. Spider-Man 2, missing features. Marvel Spider-Man 2, while a great game, had some features that were missing that felt like it should have been there. I mentioned it earlier, but character bios were missing. The original game had it, so it's just weird that something like this wasn't in the game. Some other things that were originally missing is that you can't change the weather and time of day. This was added in later, but was a topic brought up when the game dropped. Another thing that I personally didn't like is that you can't replay enemy bases that you take down in the game, like the hunter blinds and symbiote nests. This sucks because I feel like this is a really simple thing to have in the game for replayability, but you cannot. There were other missing features too, depending on who you ask, but I think these are the most notable, and besides the time and weather change, the other things weren't added, which really sucks. The Amazing Lucas. The Amazing Lucas is a YouTuber who makes a variety of different kinds of videos. Anyways, he made videos on Insomniac Spider-Man, some of them being pretty controversial to say the least. He's made quite a number of videos criticizing the game, and it created conversation among the community. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but when you have strong ones like this, yeah, people kind of will talk about it to say the least. Jaden Smith. Jaden Smith had a feature song in Spider-Man Miles Morales called I'm Ready. Additionally, there's a trailer for a fan-made Spider-Man that also features Jaden Smith, but that is not official. On top of that, in Spider-Man Miles Morales, another song featured is On My Own, which also features Jaden Smith, which is a good song, and it's really cool that Jaden Smith got to do this for Spider-Man Miles Morales. Freedom Tower changed over the course of development. So the Freedom Tower is one of the more popular buildings in New York City. It was changed over the course of development in the games. In the promotion material for the first game, it looked fine, but there was a redesign on the actual release of said game. This is how it looked like in the promotion, and here it is in the final release. No real reason was given as to why, but it's likely that Insomniac most likely had the license at first, but then whoever owns a building changed things, perhaps asking for certain demands, and Insomniac refused. That's usually how it goes, and it's just my guess, but yeah, it kinda sucks either way. Playable Venom glitch. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, you can't normally free roam as Venom outside of respective missions. However, there's a glitch you can while in the Kraven fight where you can free roam with the character. In fact, you can interact with things like crimes in progress and even ride a bike, which made it seem like Venom was originally supposed to be a free roam character, but was ultimately cut. They patched this glitch, which is dumb, but I think people found other ways of doing it. It's still really cool. Secret NPC interactions in Marvel Spider-Man 2. So in Marvel Spider-Man 2, you can interact with the NPCs. There's basic normal ones like high fives and whatnot. However, there's some pretty interesting ones as well. One of which is that you can do yoga with some people in the park, which is awesome. There's a whole video about it, I'll link in the description, but there's a lot of them. Another one I think is really cool is talking with the news and Spider-Man giving his 2 cents. There's just really cool interactions in the game like that help to enhance the experience. Avengers disappearance. One big question of every one of these games is that where the hell are the Avengers? Considering in Marvel Spider-Man 1, a big super gas bomb hit the city, and in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there was literally an alien invasion, where are the Avengers? Well, in the first game, there was a line of dialogue Spider-Man drops that mentions they're in the West Coast during the events of the game. In the comics, Spider-Man also states that the Avengers are never around. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, they're just nowhere to be seen. They just aren't around. You could explain it that they're off-world saving the universe or something, sure. But still, it is weird they're just not around to help during the alien invasion. I kinda wish it was just an explanation as to why. In the financial district in Marvel Spider-Man, you can find a statue of Lockjaw. Lockjaw is an inhuman giant bulldog that protects the inhuman royal family. You can see it in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and it's covered with Sandman sand. It's a pretty cool Easter egg that helps to flesh out the world more with other heroes and characters, and it's also a secret photo op location. It's pretty cool. Insomniac Games in-game building. In the northern part of Midtown in the games, you can find the Insomniac building, the developer of these games. It's pretty cool that they added themselves in, and there's not much else to it, but there's pretty cool Easter eggs of unique buildings in these games, this being one of them. Puerto Rican flag mix-up. So in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there's a pretty noticeable mistake. In Miles' apartment with his mom, they have a flag that should be the Puerto Rican flag. However, the flag is not that, it's actually a Cuban flag. I mean, the flags are similar, so it can just be a simple mistake to make, but yes, it was fixed in a patch later to be the Puerto Rican flag. Funny enough, the conversation among it was not toxic and it seemed simple, like people brought it up, and the devs were like, okay, cool, we'll fix it, and that was that. Warbly Jets. Warbly Jets is the band that sings the song Alive that's featured in the beginning of Marvel Spider-Man PS4. Honestly, the song is fantastic. I love it, and it sets the tone of the game really well. It's such a good pick for an introduction to the game. Really gets your blood flowing to play as Spider-Man and swing around the city. Great introduction. Part 5. EMF. Sony interfered with Marvel Spider-Man 2. So there's been discussions about how Sony has had a big influence on Marvel Spider-Man 2. Brian Indahar, the lead of the game, revealed in an interview that Sony told them that the game wasn't living up to their standards and they had to work the back half of it. Basically, to sum it up, Brian Indahar was saying that the game wasn't going to be finished in time, so Sony told them to cut parts of the game to be able to complete it, which likely resulted in things such as 90% of Tony Todd's Venom's lines being cut from the game as he revealed, and so on. It kinda sucks. Not to say it's Sony's or Insomniac's fault as the game was in development for a long time, but due to some creative and lead decisions, some things had to be cut from the game, and it sucks because now we're wondering what could have been. Hank Pym gave Norman Osborn an award. In Marvel Spider-Man 1, in Norman's apartment, you can find an award given to him from Hank Pym in achievement in science. You can also find an award from Hank to Peter when Peter was a kid in Marvel Spider-Man 2. It's really cool. Hank Pym has had a hand in acknowledging 2 geniuses in the world. Hank Pym, for those that don't know, is the original superhero, Ant-Man. Kraven's Wall. So in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there's a cut place from the game that's supposed to be Kraven's Wall that you can still access and see using some glitches. So kind of going under the map and doing a little bit of trolling, you can find a wall with the heads of some of the villains Kraven has killed. You can see Shocker, Scorpion, Vulture, and Rhino in the center. Now the thing is, Shocker, Scorpion, and Vulture are confirmed to be killed in the actual game. Kraven mentions it. However, Rhino was never mentioned in the main game to be killed or if Kraven got to him. Here though, Kraven's head is on a plaque, but since it's not in the actual game and it's cut, the whereabouts of Rhino are unknown. I would say he's alive since the game never alluded to his death. Maddie, will you marry me? So this is a pretty funny story. In Marvel Spider-Man PS4, a fan asked the studio in 2018 to put a sign in the game saying, "Maddie, will you marry me?" as a marriage proposal to his girlfriend. Insomniac actually agreed and put a sign in the game to do so, and it's on a theater marquee in the game. However, the couple actually broke up before the game came out, so the sign is still there in the main game, and it's just a funny situation since they, split up. It is really cool that Insomniac did that for them though, even though it didn't work out. Advanced suit design purposes. So the advanced suit in the game is an original suit to the Insomniac Spider-Man series. The suit was an attempt to modernize the suit while also paying homage to the original design. It's also used to show practical enhancements as well as character development for the context of the story. Overall, the suit I think is really well done. You see the suit and you automatically know where it's from, and it's used in other games as well too because it's really iconic, it's really good looking, and it's also great in the context of the story. Tom Holland's favorite game. Tom Holland has expressed how Spider-Man PS4 is an amazing game, expressing that the swinging and the movement mechanics are really good. He also said that one of the moves from the game was incorporated into Spider-Man No Way Home, although I'm not sure what move that is. If anyone knows it, write a comment. Green Goblin references. Green Goblin is Spider-Man's biggest villain. However, he has yet to appear in the Insomniac Spider-Man universe, despite Insomniac Spider-Man being around for so many years. There are Easter eggs that allude to his eventual transformation, however. For starters, in Spider-Man PS4, one of Oscorp's showcases show a almost kind of prototype glider, one that looks similar to the one that Green Goblin uses. Besides that, in Norman's secret room in his penthouse, there's these devices here that look very similar to the pumpkin bombs that Green Goblin uses. The post-credit scene of the game also has green liquid reflecting off Norman, making him look green like the Green Goblin. And at the end of Marvel Spider-Man 2, Norman asks for the G serum for Harry, which seems likely to be the Goblin serum. These Green Goblin references all allude to his pretty much confirmed plotline that Norman will become the Green Goblin in the next game. Gameloft copyright of Spider-Man Miles Morales' reveal trailer. The reveal trailer for Spider-Man Miles Morales is on the official PlayStation channel. It received a copyright strike from Gameloft, however. As far as I know, it isn't entirely clear what the cause of the copyright strike was, or if it was intentional in the first place, but Sony's version of the trailer from the official PlayStation YouTube account seems to be the only one affected with the copyright strike, with other uploads on other channels being fine. So it's really strange, but that is a thing that happened. Devs on the wall at Feast. At the Feast Center in Marvel Spider-Man PS4, there's a wall of volunteers that feature real pictures of the developers at Insomniac Studios. It's really cool, simple as that, and it's meaningful as well. The Baxter Building. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, you can find the Baxter Building still being kind of built in Hell's Kitchen. This building was once used as a main base of operations for Fisk Tower, and it was also used for the Underground in Spider-Man Miles Morales. It seems that's finally being used for something good in Marvel Spider-Man 2. The Baxter Building, for those that don't know, is the building for the Fantastic Four. Union Allied. In Manhattan, New York, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, you can find the Union Allied Construction Building. The Union Allied Building was a building used in the Daredevil TV show that was a front for the Hand, and the Hand is an evil ninja clan. This could be referencing a potential Daredevil story in this universe, which I would really love, but we just have to wait to see if we ever get that. Great Web. So the Great Web was a cancelled live service game from Insomniac. It would be very similar to the Insomniac Spider-Man games, except that it would be based on the Spider-Verse, and it was seemingly co-op online where you play with your friends, all while being live service. There was even a trailer for the game that was leaked. Honestly, it looked really cool, but it may have been cancelled due to the reputation behind superhero live service games, which, you know, is reasonable, and it may have been for the best, who knows. I would have definitely played it. It looked good, all things considered. Martin Lee's parents are a stock Asian couple. So Martin Lee, Mr. Negative in Marvel Spider-Man PS4, has a picture of his parents. People found out though that this painting or this picture of his parents in his office is actually an Asian stock couple photo. It's really funny, you can just find it online. It's something about it is so simple yet so hilarious. But yes, here's the image they actually used for his parents. Jewish NPCs won't appear on the streets when playing Spider-Man on Saturdays. Just as the title said, Jewish NPCs won't appear on the streets in the game on Saturdays. The reason for this is it's because it's the Sabbath in Judaism, according to a programmer on the game. They're programmed in the game to observe the Sabbath, which includes abstaining from work. Sabbath is a day of rest/worship, so they wanted to implement that for the Jewish NPCs in the game, which is why they don't appear on the streets on Saturdays. Part 6. Oscorp. Avengers Mansion. Avengers Mansion is present in the game. You can find it easily. It's one of the biggest buildings in the game. Peter mentioned in the first game that they're in the West Coast and never around to use the NY Avengers building. This line of dialogue was missing from the remaster, however, which is weird, but yes, it is gone. Sugar Hill area missing. There's a section in the city of Marvel Spider-Man PS4 that's called the Sugar Hill area that's kind of distinct in the game. However, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, it seems to be missing, which is kind of weird. I don't know if this was an intentional design choice. It is weird it's replaced with this area here. It just looks different. But yeah, who knows why they changed it. Smith International. There's a building you can find in Marvel Spider-Man 2 in the financial district called Smith International. Alistar Smith is a Spider-Man villain. He's a villain who's associated with a group of anti-Spider-Man characters known as the Spider Slayers. His father created Spider Slayer robots in an attempt to kill Spider-Man, but failed and died in the process, which made Alistar angry at Spider-Man, and he gave himself powers through his father's tech and the Spidey Slayers to try and fight Spider-Man. Sterling Grape. There's a sad detail in Spider-Man PS4, so in the game, you can actually keep up with the social media feed and see random people post on it, one of which is Sterling Grape, who says that they're so excited because they get to attend the awards ceremony at City Hall. As we all know, City Hall is attacked and people are killed, with someone responding to his post after the attack with a rest in peace. It's a really sad detail. There's a lot of hidden gems in these posts, and this is just one of them that hits hard. Female Muslim NPCs won't touch Spider-Man. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, as some of you know, you can high-five and hug fans of Spider-Man on the streets when you run into them. However, for female Muslims you encounter, you can interact with them, but Spider-Man won't shake their hand or hug them due to Muslim beliefs, which is a pretty cool detail that Insomniac added in. Dima in the Brooklyn Zoo. Dima is Kraven's tiger that you actually find during the main story of the game. After that mission, Dima can actually be found at the Brooklyn Zoo. You can just swing over there, go to his enclosure, and even interact with him and pet him. It's really cool. I guess we know what happened to his tiger after Kraven got his head bitten off. Sexy Christmas Rio Morales. So a 3D artist made a sexy Christmas Rio Morales picture, which is, cool. And the funniest part is that the actual voice actress of Rio Morales, Jacqueline Pinol, sorry if I butcher that, posted the picture with this comment. I would not have expected her to do something like this, but it is pretty funny, and I remember this blowing up on Twitter when it did. GR35. In Marvel Spider-Man PS4, when you're in Norman's lab and watching the Martin Lee video, you can find there's an experiment listed GR35 with a patient name listed as unknown. The 35 references Peter's first encounter with a black suit and Venom in Ultimate Spider-Man issue 35. It was an Easter egg to allude to the sequel of the series, and as we all know, the unknown patient turned out to be Harry Osborn. Venom has less than 30 minutes of screen time in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Venom has less than 30 minutes of screen time in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Yeah, kinda sucks when you put it in that perspective. It is sad because Venom was a big post-credit scene at the end of the first game, only for him not have really much screen time in his own game. Now, Tony Todd, the voice actor of Venom, rest in peace, said that 90% of his Venom lines were cut. 90%, which is huge. So we could have had more Venom, but what 90% means to me is maybe an hour of screen time at most, maybe, right? I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 wanted to tell two different stories, one with Kraven and one with Venom. I loved Kraven in this game, but I didn't really like Venom's portrayal, which kind of sucks, but hopefully we see more Venom in his universe's future at some point. Danica Hart's Omniscience. Danica Hart has a talk show in the game that's similar to JJ's except not nearly as entertaining. A lot of her interviews are there to keep up with the current events in New York and try to say all in a positive way, which is a juxtaposition from Jonah. Spider-Verse Anomaly. So in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there's a Spider-Verse mission. You can find and collect these spider bots from another universe, and at the end, you meet this bartender named Delilah who references the events of the Spider-Verse movies. She's a cut character from the movie, which sucks, which makes this reference here a little bit more confusing to some people. And not only that, the DLC for Marvel Spider-Man 2 was also cut, so if you were going to get a follow-up to the mission, not anymore. It sucks, but at the very least, we saw Insomniac Spider-Man in the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, so we know he interacts with them. Peter Parker's son. In the City That Never Sleeps DLC, Felicia mentions to Peter that she has a son she's trying to protect. In the DLC, Peter wonders if the kid is his, as him and Felicia had previous relations. He even brings it up to MJ. However, it turns out that Peter and Felicia do not have a kid together, but it was a point of contention in the DLC. Osh-Toron Syndrome. The Osh-Toron disease is the rare genetic disease that killed Harry's mom and affects Harry Osborn in the game. It slowly deteriorates a person physically and mentally, with Norman dedicating his wealth and resources to find a cure for Harry, even going to drastic measures like using the symbiote on Harry. The disease is characterized as having a lot of symptoms like cognitive functions, movement control, and immune systems all slowly going away. It sucks. Morgan Michaels is Morbius. Morgan Michaels is a character in Spider-Man PS4. He's the person that helps make the cure for Devil's Breath. Morgan Michaels is actually the person that becomes the Spider-Man villain Morbius, the vampire guy with the extremely popular and great Morbius movie that came out. His bio in the game does allude to this. Peter mentions that Dr. Michaels in his photos looks thin, pale, dark circles under his eyes, alluding that he might have his own genetic condition, perhaps becoming Morbius soon. David Obademi is just a reused NPC. David Obademi is a minor character that appears in the City That Never Sleeps DLC for Spider-Man PS4. He works with Sable. David is just a reused NPC though. There's NPCs in the game that look just like him, which is pretty funny. He's a minor character, so it doesn't really matter, but it is noticeable if you pay attention. No children in the map. Something noticeable in the game is there is no kids whatsoever. None free roaming or anything like that, you just don't see them. You see teens technically, like Miles Morales, sure, but no kids. What the reasoning was, I'm not honestly sure. Maybe there's some rule of putting kids in games. Maybe Insomniac didn't want people doing weird things. There surely was a reason, but I guess it's not as important in the grand scheme of things. Part 7, Devil's Breath. Fragile Eagle. Fragile Eagle is a nickname for Brian Indahar, a podcast host known for his love of video games and one of the leads at Insomniac. He loves games like the Kingdom Hearts series, for example, and while Insomniac and Fragile Eagle don't directly relate to that game itself, the phrase highlights the development's involvement in said series. Spider-Man 2 cut content. Spider-Man 2 had quite a bit of cut content. I mentioned some stuff earlier in the video, but some leaks show that there were several cut symbiote bosses, the symbiotes being Phage, Lasher, Agony, and Riot, all notable symbiote characters. The community thinks that this leak implies that all the Life Foundation symbiotes would have appeared and had some big role in the game. A leaker also stated that Venom was supposed to appear earlier in the game, as early as Act 2, with a story revolving around separation anxiety. The storyline would have connected into the Life Foundation symbiotes, increasing their role in the game, but it was cut. It sucks because I feel like the symbiote story needed to be fleshed out more, and this could have been that, but unfortunately it was cut from the game. 9/11 happened in the universe. 9/11 has happened in the Insomniac Spider-Man universe. There's a building in Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales where the reflection of this building shows the Twin Towers. Outside of this though, there's actual in-game dialogue that confirms that it happened in the universe right here.
9/11, when all transport of the city was shut down, citizen boat owners managed to transport over 500,000 people from Manhattan Island. An amazing act of the 9/11 boat lift. Cool, right?
So yes, 9/11, the tragic day, has happened in the Insomniac Spider-Man world. Secret enterable locations of Spider-Man 2's map. In Marvel's Spider-Man 2, there's a few places you can interact with, one of which is the Wakandan Embassy. If you play as Miles here, Miles will do the Wakandan salute, and you also get a cool new skin out of it. In Miles' side story in the game, you can also enter the musical building showcasing musical pieces from history, which is really cool. And also, there's a bookstore you can enter in the game, with one of the rooms having weird symbols and weapons inside. People are speculating this could lead to a potential Daredevil DLC, but we have yet to see that at this point in the universe. Central Park Teddy Bears. In each of the games under Central Park's bridge, you can find a stuffed teddy bear. Nobody knows why these bears are necessarily there. However, one sad theory I have heard is that the reason they're here is to spread awareness for homeless children in the area. Secret spills in the Feast Center. In the Feast Center in Spider-Man PS4, there's 3 optional spills in that building that you can interact and help clean up. There is no trophy associated with this whatsoever. In fact, I think there's no reward for it at all. It's just a neat little optional thing you can do, which is pretty interesting. It's new to me. Peter's thumbs up during the Rhino chase. During Spider-Man Miles Morales in the introduction of the game, you're chasing Rhino through the city and eventually end up at this mall here. There's a quick time event where Rhino's about to hit this mother and her baby. If you mess up the quick time event, Peter actually swoops in to save the day. And if you pause the game and go into photo mode, you can turn around and actually see Peter give you a thumbs up, which is really awesome and it's a nice little detail. Harry Osborn could have just been given the Carnage symbiote instead. So this is a question that's never really resolved in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Harry needs a symbiote to stay healthy, otherwise he will be sick and soon die. As we see in the game, the Venom symbiote vanishes, but in the Carnage side mission in the game, it's revealed that Cletus Cassidy is stealing a symbiote from Oscorp. So the question now is, why didn't Harry use this symbiote instead the entire time? If Oscorp just had another symbiote lying around, why didn't he just get this one? It's never really been answered in the game. Maybe the symbiote was kept hidden from Norman and Harry. Maybe the time frames of when Harry lost the Venom symbiote and the side mission don't align correctly. Who knows? But if he had this one, it probably could have fixed Harry's dilemma in the game. Hammerhead is Silvermane. Hammerhead is the villain used in the City That Never Sleeps DLC in Marvel Spider-Man PS4. He's the big mob boss. In that game though, after Yuri shoots his bitch ass in the head, he gets a robotic cybernetic suit and becomes like really strong and durable with it. This makes people think that they just turned Hammerhead into Silvermane. Silvermane is a Marvel supervillain that's a prominent figure in the Magia crime family and is typically a Spider-Man villain. Silvermane becomes a cyborg himself in an attempt to become stronger to fight Spider-Man. His whole story was just kind of combined with Hammerhead here. Hammerhead basically becomes what he was, and now Hammerhead is basically Silvermane, especially since Magia and Hammerhead are connected in the game. I mean, at the end of the day, it does look like they did this, but I think it's an appropriate way of going about it with a character that's not too familiar with a lot of people, and I think the story with it is good as well. But yeah, it seems like they connected 2 stories together. Part 8, Klyntar. There is a secret criminal organization with hideouts all over the city in Marvel Spider-Man 2. So in Marvel Spider-Man 2, I said it before, but there's a bookstore you can find in a city with secret weapons and weird symbols inside it, like as if it's an army with their stuff in the room. Now, people speculate this could be a Daredevil DLC, but it could really be anything. If we look at the canceled DLC for the game, the titles for them were leaked. The DLC were seemingly supposed to be Beetle Infestation, Extreme Carnage, and the Spider-Verse Anomaly. Maybe the secret criminal organization could have been part of one of those DLCs. We don't know, and it sucks the DLCs were canceled, but hopefully one day we get an answer on this. Spider-Man Lotus suit. So Spider-Man Lotus was a huge fan project with a Spider-Man story they created with their own effects, story, writing. It's a 2-hour movie on YouTube, and it's been up for quite a while now. You can go watch it. However, the actor Spider-Man in that film has been outed to say some pretty racist things in his past. Things that I'd rather not show here. You can check it out for yourself if you want. Anyways, a lot of people made fun of that and associate the Lotus suit now with racism. The suit in relation to the Insomniac games, there is no official Lotus suit in the game. However, there are fan-made mods with the suit in there. So yes, would Insomniac have added the Lotus suit in the game if it wasn't for the controversy? Maybe, because Insomniac can be cool like that. But with the Lotus suit stuff, yeah, it's forever just going to be mods. Miles Morales polluted Harlem with radiation at the end of his game. There's this theory that in the explosion that happened above New York skies at the end of Spider-Man Miles Morales, the radiation seeped down to the city, which polluted the city. While this theory does have some merit, there's nothing in Marvel Spider-Man 2 I believe to support this theory. No sick people or nothing to really showcase. But it would have been a cool concept to incorporate in the games. Peter Parker has access to every New Yorker's information. This is a bit of information that's not just outright stated, but it's pretty much implied. With how Peter fixes all the police towers in the game and programs his suit to tune in on certain radio frequencies and other kinds of conversations, Peter Parker does technically have access to every New Yorker's information. I mean, yes, Peter does have access to everyone's info, but we know Spider-Man as a person wouldn't use that information unless he had a really good reason to do so. It's just one of those things that he could do and it's implied, but the game never delves into it since it's not necessary. The police no longer exist in Marvel Spider-Man 2. In Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, the police have a heavy presence in the game. I mean, there's a whole Spider Cop joke in the first game and you do missions with the cops. They're involved a lot in that game. However, fast forward to Marvel Spider-Man 2, and they're just not really around at all. You see them in the background, like after Sandman's mission and stuff, but you never really interact with them, nor are they ever a presence in the game. It's most likely due to the controversy among policing, especially at that time, and for those reasons, Insomniac may have strayed away from police involvement in the game story and missions. It's never stated, but I think that is the most generally agreed upon reason. And with that is the Insomniac Spider-Man Iceberg. A lot of little details and funny moments throughout. Some are speculation, some are things you didn't know about, some are things you always have known, but you let me know what you think about the iceberg. Now, there are 3 terms here on this iceberg that I have not been able to find any information for. The 3 are YN section, every copy is personalized, and Spider-Man PS4's intro being one long cutscene. If you know about any of these, please let me know in the comments, as I could not find any research or information to support these whatsoever. But if you know it, let me know. Tell me what your favorites were or what was the worst. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and peace.